Okay, so this is quilting. So I've already prepared a couple of pieces of fabric, and this bit here is called wadding. Now, wadding is there to make it thicker. You can divide this into bits, so you can see there it's sort of pulls apart, so you can divide it into thinner sections if needed, but that's okay as well. You want a bit of calico on the bottom, wadding in the middle like a sandwich, and then another bit of calico on the top, and then pins in there. So a couple of pins, roughly one in each corner, but it depends on what sort of thing you are stitching. The corset on the wall over there, the one with the black flowers, that's had wadding in those to make them sort of stand out a bit more. So the main sort of point of wadding is it creates a bit more of a 3D effect, and shows that a little bit more. When you go onto the sewing machine, you will need to flatten this down so that it gets underneath. You are going to want to reverse stitch at the beginning and end. Press a foot, although it won't look obvious it's down, you will need to make sure that goes down. People tend to notice the gap when they're just sewing a thin piece of fabric, but when it's thicker, people tend to not realise about that gap, so make sure it's still down, and then you can sew over the top. So reverse at the beginning and end. Say I'm doing something like a flower or a mushroom or something like that, you could probably work out and use different bits and pieces to sort of show that more. So what you should be able to see is that where my row of stitching is, it's now sort of puffed up on either side. Does that make sense? And you'd probably want several of these in whatever sort of style you're looking at, just to create the best that you can. So if I'm thinking about the mushroom that I was looking at last time, I'm thinking about sort of the lines of that object. Now, what you should end up with is something like that. Now, you can do freeform embroidery over the top of it, and the bits that don't have much stitching will puff up, kind of like this. You can make it more invisible, so if you're using the same colour thread as the fabric, it would be more for an invisible kind of thing on the sewing machine, or it could be something that's made to stand out more. That would be totally up to you, and you would make the decisions about how you wanted to do that. But it's quite a good one for lots of different techniques that you could use, and just thinking about going forward what you actually want to do and how you're going to achieve it. So think about some of those very carefully. It's an option that's available to you. Calico at the back is usually best